Hey everyone, so I'm back here at the base of another ice climb, and this time I wanted to show you some basic ice climbing movement. Now, there's kind of like, in my mind at least, I separate it into two different entities. One is like moderate ice, and then the other is steep ice movement. Because on moderate ice you can get away with less systematic movement, and you can sort of just work on getting up the ice, especially if you know how it feels, and if it's like nice wet ice that takes picks really well, then you can just sort of run up it. But the steeper the ice gets, the more you sort of want to approach it systematically in your movement to be efficient, keep yourself from being pumped out, and also just sort of get up the climb faster. It's really, I mean, ice climbing is really just a game of controlling the pump. So first thing I'm going to talk about is how to swing your ice tools. Now, it does depend a bit on the ice tool you have. Most modern water ice tools that are designed specifically for water ice climbing, you swing with a pivot point starting at your index finger. So when I swing this thing, I'm gonna try to line the axe up with my shoulder and my elbow, and then that helps the accuracy of my pick, where I wanna point the pick. And I'm going to just start rotating the axe, and at the very end add a little snap to let the weight of the head of the axe go into the ice rather than me trying to push the axe into the ice. It really helps save energy, and also it helps get a really good pick placement. A really nice thing to do, and I do this a lot, is I put the pick where I want to swing it, so that gives me sort of like a target. I bring it back and then boom. Sometimes I hit the target right on, other times I hit next to it, but generally I'm focusing more on the swing and keeping a good ice swing rather than hitting that target right on the mark. You know, you don't exactly have to be within a millimeter in terms of dead eye with these things all the time. Like sometimes it does help, but most of the time when you're climbing regular ice, you can kind of hit anywhere around there, anywhere around that specific point. So I'm going up. Here we go. Sometimes you got to clean the extra stuff away to get to the good ice. So I want to aim right here. And I've chosen this spot because it's a little bit of a divot, you know, and so it can add some support to my ice axe placement. Another possibility is if I can make it happen. There we go. So you saw how the surface ice popped away. We call that one a dinner plate in ice climbing. And one is like, you'll get better at seeing those as you climb. But another thing it does is it sort of shatters the bad ice away, and then you get the good ice underneath. And so now if I swing in that same place, roughly, I can actually get a decent pick placement. In this case, I would probably want to swing one more to get it really tight in there. And notice how I'm doing the exact same swing every time. I'm just letting the axe rotate on my index finger, and the axe weight itself, the weight of the head, is driving that pick into the ice. There are other axes out there. I'll put some pictures of different of these specific types of axes on screen. One good example is like the Cobra from Black Diamond, or the Cork from Petzl, where you swing from your pinky instead of your index finger. And that's like, the pivot point is just slightly different. You hold your hand a little bit looser in that regard. And what I mean by that is when we're swinging with our index finger, our bottom three fingers are a little bit looser, while the index finger is more around the ice axe to get that pivot point. With the pivot point on the pinky tools, I'm going to loosen up my index finger and keep my pinky tight on the axe, so that way I can get that same axe swing. It's just something that takes practice, and the best way to do this is to try climbing with someone who's a lot more experienced than you, who can tell you if you're doing it right or not. Okay, so now we're going to talk about your feet placements when ice climbing. This is like the general stance with ice climbing, is my foot is flat, or my heel is maybe even a bit lower than my toes. And what that does is it allows the front points of my crampons to bite into the ice. If you have your heel too high, then the front of your boot will lever those front points out. And sometimes if you like did a little ice climbing before and you like stand up real high, you can get your foot sort of itching out like that. Another bad habit to avoid is kicking with your heel too high, because that just adds to, again, the levering out with your boot. If you've started with rock climbing and moved to ice climbing, it's very easy to have that bad habit at the start. So you just have to keep on reminding yourself to kick with flat feet. And the best way to do that is to start with turning your foot slightly up and then kicking your foot in. So instead of kicking in and then moving my foot down or around or whatever, I just start with my heel down, I bring my toes up and kick into the ice. And that way those spikes get in there and then I have a good purchase. Sometimes you do have to kick a few times, but really it's just moving up the ice like that. So now we talked about the swinging, the hands and the feet pretty much, and so now we're going to try to put it all together in our basic body movement. And so ice climbing, unlike rock climbing, is very static. You stay square to the wall most of the time, or square to the ice wall most of the time. And what I'm going to do is try to build a triangle with my body. So I have my left axe right here that's kind of high, and I've kicked myself so that way my left foot and my right foot are centered in a big pyramid with that axe. I'm going to take my right axe, swing it in, and I know it's a good stick. And then when I move my feet, I'm going to move myself so that way I'm a triangle over this axe. Left axe. Okay, left axe again. Get that triangle over my left axe. And then you just keep on doing that pretty much all the way up the wall. It's pretty easy when you first start ice climbing, especially if you're going from rock climbing. Just sort of move yourself in a more fluid manner, something like this, where you're kind of like all over the place in terms of that system. But ice climbing is a pretty different medium in that sense, where we're kind of more just sticking with having good sticks and then centering ourselves over our tools. Well guys, that was ice climbing movement. Again, I was just talking about more basic terrain, somewhere in the realm of WI2 3-. Some sections of 3 have more vertical ice, but then you have to climb like lower angle ice to get in between the sections of vertical ice. And so that's kind of what the terrain I'm talking about right there. I'll do another video on more advanced ice climbing like WI3+, 4, and so on, with that sort of movement on the more vertical ice. Thanks for watching. If you want me to make a video, then just write me a comment or whatever, and then I'll see you guys in the next video.